Hello students, welcome back. We'll be discussing pediatric orthopedics today. So pediatric orthopedics, unlike the other like the trauma or the other departments, other subspecialties in ortho, is a bit tougher, tougher subspecialty because some points you have to really by heart. You cannot think and do because you have to know the evolution, the developmental process, everything. So it's a bit a tougher section. But I'm not like discouraging you guys, will help you out. So this includes two big headings like the CTEV, the congenital Talipes equinus varus, and the CDH or the congenital dislocation of the hip, along with some of the other lower limb deformities as well. So right away we will move to the CTEV. So CTEV, by hearing the terminology, it is you have to expand it like congenital Talipes equinus varus, and the whole answer is there in that CTEV. So congenital, it is a by birth deformity. Talipes, talus means ankle and pes means foot. So it is a deformity of the foot. Equino varus, again equinus means plantar flexion and varus means the inward deviation of the foot. So this is just a deformity, a congenital deformity of the foot which is composed by equinus and varus. So as I told, it's congenital and its incidence is once in every 1,000 lives. So it's not that an uncommon deformity. Once in every 1,000 live births is the epidemiology. And etiology, again you can divide it to primary and secondary. Primary, which is idiopathic, which is the most common. There is no reason why this happens. And secondary, due to other neurogenic or other biomechanical causes. So primary, it's a mechanical issue where a raised intrauterine pressure or oligohydramnios. So that is an important point. It happens in a raised intrauterine pressure or oligohydramnios, something known as a packaging disorder, which includes CTEV, again this congenital dislocation of the hip, metatarsus adductus, congenital torticollis. So too many deformities are there which happen due to this packaging disorder or oligohydramnios, which results in a increased intracranial pressure where the child is forced to lie down in certain position, and that ends up in deformities after the birth. Ischemia of the calf muscles, and obviously due to some other genetic causes. So that is the primary causes for the congenital Talipes equinus varus. And secondary, maybe due to these paralytic disorders where you have got some muscle imbalance where your inverters and the plantar flexors act more than the everters or dorsiflexors. Obviously there will be a deformity. So the agonistic antagonistic muscle imbalance can cause the CTEV in paralytic disorders, or arthrogryposis multiplex congenital, another disorder where there is multiple contractures of the joints, and CTEV will be a part of other, maybe a knee deformity or elbow deformity, etc. So this etiology, CTEV is an essay, so you have to write in detail. There is no shortcut. You cannot finish it off in a short note or something. So you have to learn all those etiology, the pathoanatomy, the different treatment options, etc. So etiology, primary and secondary, idiopathic or non-idiopathic. Primary, you can write this packaging disorders or the mechanical reasons due to increased intrauterine pressure, the ischemia of the calf muscles and genetic disorders. And secondary, maybe a neuroparalytic problem or a arthrogryposis multiplex congenital. Now pathoanatomy is again you have to know the relevant anatomy of the foot as such. But of course this involves problems or pathology in bone, the joints, ligaments and the muscles. So the four components of the pathoanatomy, you have to write these four headings: bones, joints, ligaments and the muscles. So that completes everything. Now what happens to the bones in a CTEV? So CTEV, the bones are comparatively smaller, especially the talus and the calcaneum. It will be smaller in size, and the head of the talus, normally the head of the talus lies almost in parallel or probably is only small angle with that of the calcaneum. But in case of CTEV, it turns downwards and medially, so that the forefoot turns medially. So you can see in this diagram, this is the talus bone. So it is facing downwards. So normally it should be facing something like this. So this is the normal talus, but in case of CTEV, it will go downwards and medially. And in calcaneum, again, if you can imagine this as your foot. So Talipes equinus varus means inversion and inward deviation That's the varus deformity and plantar flexion. So what happens? The forefoot comes inwards. So this is the concave part, and this the lateral side is the convex part, and the medial side is the concave part. So the calcaneum becomes small and concave medially. So you can see over this diagram as well. I have shown the diagrams of equinus, varus and cavus. So the basic deformities of the joints in CTEVs by the mnemonic CAVE, cave. So C for cavus, A for adduction, V for varus, and finally E for equinus. So what all joints are involved? The midfoot goes into cavus. Cavus means club foot, or the medial arch is raised. So that is the cavus deformity. So it happens at the midfoot joint level. And the forefoot goes into adduction, hindfoot goes into varus, that is the calcaneum, making it medially concave, and finally the angle goes into equinus. So that is rightly depicted over the diagram. This is the equinus part, this is the varus part, and the cavus. So CAVE is the deformities happening at the joint level. And now what happens to the muscles? To go into equinus, the tendoachilles or the posterior calf muscles has to get contracted. So the tendoachilles get contracted, probably underdeveloped as well, and medially also. So the primary deformity, as I told you, it is equinus and varus. So to go into equinus, the posterior muscles are involved, and to go into varus, the medial muscles or the inverters are involved. So tendoachilles, obviously the posterior part, and medially you have the posterior compartment muscles like the tibialis posterior, FDL and FHL are involved. So the bones are over, the joints are over, and muscles are over. Now what happens to the capsule and ligaments? Again, it's just a common sense. The posterior part is contracted because of equinus. The medial part is contracted because of varus. So posteriorly, posterior capsule of angular and subtalar joints and the posterior ligaments, medially the talonavicular ligaments. So it's maybe a bit difficult for you guys, but it's just the common sense. The posterior part of the capsule of the ankle joint and the subtalar joint, just common sense. Now medially the spring ligament and the deltoid ligaments are the ligaments on the medial side, so they get contracted. And plantar fascia, of course, it goes into cavus. The plantar fascia and the ligaments get contracted, and interosseous ligament between the talus and calcaneum. So it's not like, you know, you have to buy her talonavicular ligament, spring ligament, deltoid, nothing like that. You just remember which side is involved. So here the posterior, medial and the plantar structures are involved, and you write all those ligaments over that aspect gets contracted or even shortened. Now what happens to, there forms some of the secondary deformities of the skin as well. So once you have a equinus contracture, there will be deep creases under the sole. There will be, because the foot goes into equinus, there will be deep creases behind the heel as well. So deep creases will be there. Callosities, because the lateral border is convex, the child will be walking like this, and there will be callosities on the lateral aspect, and sometimes it can irritate and form bursum. So these are the pathoanatomy, which involves the bones, the joints, the muscle, the skin and the ligaments, and the joint involvement CAVE, and the bone or the ligamentous part of the muscles, mainly the posteromedial muscles are involved. So that forms the pathoanatomy of the CTEV. And the clinical features, by seeing this slide, you don't really get exhausted, because again these are all the common sense things I will explain to you. So don't get scared by seeing this slide. So primary deformities, as I have told you, it is the cave, CAVE. So it is the cave only here. So that part of the table is over. And finally, there will be some internal tibial torsion as well, because of the long-term defect. The tibia itself gets turned internally. So you can see over this diagram, this is the tibial part, which gets finally becomes, there will be a mild internal tibial torsion as well. So those are the 5 primary deformities. So whenever someone, I have seen some of those previous question papers where the deformities of clubfoot has been asked as an individual short note. So you have to present it like it can be primary deformities and secondary deformities. Primary deformity involves the basic pathology, that is the pathoanatomy, as you learned earlier. The joints go for cave, CAVE, plus the internal tibial torsion. And finally, if it's long term, if the child doesn't seek any treatment at all, and these changes will stay there, the child walk with all those deformities, and finally what happens, there will be degeneration of the joints and fusion of the joints. So those are the late changes. Now what are the secondary deformities? Secondary deformities, the foot size, as we told you, it's a small foot. The medial border, I told you, the medial border is concave and the lateral border is convex. Is the lateral side, and the forefoot is plantar flex. Of course, it is in equinus. The skin is stretched over the convex part. Callosity is the bursa, we told the child finds it difficult to walk, stumbling gait, atrophy of the. So these are all just building up like over the secondary deformities. No, you need not get worried that there are 8 points in the secondary deformities. It's fine. I find it difficult to read. Nothing is there. The foot is small. The medial side is concave, lateral border is convex, and walking over that forms callosities over the lateral side, bursitis over the lateral side, deep creases over the plantar aspect. The child finds it difficult to walk, which leads to stumbling gait. The forefoot is plantar. So these are the secondary deformities happening, and apart from those primary. So you can see this is the convex lateral border, and this is the concave lateral, the medial border. So that forms the primary and secondary deformities of the CTEV. Now, the clinical examination. On examination, you have to rule out the secondary causes. As I told, there can be some paralytic like the polio, or even the spina bifida features, where the child will have some deformities of the spine, or some hairy outgrowth over the lower aspect of the lumbosacral spine, some sinus, some scars will be there. So you have to look for all those things in the general examination to rule out any secondary causes leading to the club foot. And the foot examination, again the same thing. It will be small foot, bilateral in case of 60%, always or examine the opposite limb. CAV, look for the primary deformities. There is something called a dorsiflexion test, which you have to pinpoint in case of a clinical examination. So normally a newborn, the skin and the ligaments will all be very much stretchable, so that the dorsum of the foot will be able to touch the shin on the anterior aspect. So this is that in a normal child, he can easily touch the shin of the tibia in front with the dorsiflexion of the foot. But in case of a club foot, where the foot will be in an equinus contracture, you cannot bring the dorsum of the foot to. So that is known as the dorsiflexion test, which should be an important part of your short note in case of an examination of CTEV. Deep skin cases, again we told bony prominence, convex outer border, concave inner border. These are all the same thing what we have discussed. But the important part here is the dorsiflexion test. Now going ahead, there has been one short note regarding primary and secondary club foot. What are the differentiating features? So it's again the repetition, but because it has been asked as a single short note, I am discussing it again and again. So in the secondary deformity, you have to look for all those other findings in the general examination, and primary is right from the birth, but the secondary is seen sometimes later on. And the foot size is much smaller in a primary foot, whereas it is almost normal or near normal in case of a secondary club foot. And the side affected bilateral is common in primary. It has to be probably unilateral most of the time in case of a secondary club foot. This foot size, again there will be a mild variation in the two. So basically you have to if such a question being asked, you have to know this side of the table. So what are all those points that has to be mentioned in a table, so that the examiner will be pleased and it will be very much obvious for him. So all those small foot size, the heel size, the skin, the neurological examination will of course be abnormal in case of a secondary. And the prognosis, again idiopathic is really good, whereas in the secondary deformity or due to other paralytic causes, the prognosis is bad. So this is the table for differentiating features between the primary and the secondary club foot. The radiology, again you take plain X-ray, because it's a newborn kid, only those bones which get ossified at such an earlier stage will be clearly visible in case. And in the radiology part, Kite's angle is the buzzword for CTEV, Kite's angle, and you have to know the talocalcaneal angle, both AP and lateral views, which is less than 30 degrees normally. So only that part is important for you guys, where there are too many angles like the Turcos angle, etc. But again, you just know Kite's angle, which is the talocalcaneal angle in the AP view, which gets decreased in case of a CTEV, and normally it is more than 35 degrees in both CTEV as both AP view and the lateral view, but both gets decreased because the talus goes for this downwards and medial tilt. So Kite's angle is the buzzword here for the radiology in CTEV. Treatment wise, the principle of, so if somebody asks the CTEV treatment as such as a short note, you have to write the principle. The principle of CTEV is deformity correction and maintenance, otherwise the deformity will recur. So you have to correct the deformity and maintain it. So you correct using the surgical or non-operative methods, and you maintain it using some of the splints. So what are all those non-operative techniques? It can be a manipulation alone, where you teach the mother to after every feed, you have to move the foot in the direction opposite of that of the deformity. So the foot is deformed in equinus and varus. So you have to try for a valgus correction as well as a dorsiflexion correction. So you teach this technique to the mother so that she does this for at least for 5 seconds. She keeps the pressure every 5 minutes or hour after every feed. Now manipulation plus plaster, which is the most commonly employed technique, and the Ponseti's and the Kite's philosophy exists, and the Kite's philosophy is almost obsolete now, and the majority or almost everyone of us follow the Ponseti's technique of correction in case of manipulation and plaster of Paris technique. But for the sake of discussion, I will be telling the Kite's philosophy as well. So these are the basic differences between the Kite's philosophy and the Ponseti's philosophy. Kite starts the correction by 1 month only, but Ponseti starts immediately after the birth, and the hinge where Kite corrects the deformity is the calcaneocuboid joint, whereas that has been found to be really wrong, and Ponseti has corrected it to the talar head. So this is the important part where the pressure applied is over the talar head in case of a Ponseti's technique, and the order of correction was adduction, inversion and AIE, adduction, inversion and equinus for the kites, which again was found to be wrong, which resulted in the rocker bottom foot and so many other complications if you follow the Kite's philosophy. So Ponseti has rightly corrected, and he corrects it in the order of CAVE. So it's very easy to remember. The cavus he corrects first by lifting the first metatarsal, then the adduction by keeping pressure of the talar head, then the varus correction, and finally the equinus where he tries for a dorsiflexion. So Kite used a Belloni POP which has been found inadequate, and Ponseti used a above elbow POP for a minimum of 5 to 7 days, whereas Kite changed it over a period of 2 weeks only. And Kite used it for 6 to 9 months, whereas Ponseti got the correction by 6 weeks time. And if some amount of the equinus contracture remains, he does a percutaneous Achilles tenotomy as well. So these are the basic difference. So if you want just to know the treatment in case of a essay part, I would say rather you just write this Ponseti part only. Need not write regarding Kite's philosophy. But in case treatment alone is asked for CTEV, you better mention regarding Kite as well if you can write this table. So operative techniques of course exist when where the POP treatment or the plastering has failed to correct the deformity, or in case the deformity recurs, if it comes back again after the POP treatment of 6 weeks or whatever duration time, or in case of neglected deformity where the child has not sought any medical attention once he has started walking. So the resistant CTEV, the recurrent CTEV or the neglected CTEV, these are the 3 indications for surgical management. And you can attempt a soft tissue surgeries like the postomedial soft tissue release or the turquoise release, etc. If it is less than 3 years, and more than 3 years, you better go for a bony surgery. So this is the slide where you have to draw kind of algorithm like operative techniques. You write down the indications, then you tell soft tissue and bony, less than 3 years and more than 3 years. So this makes the examiner quite clear that this candidate knows the stuff very clearly. Now CTEV treatment, these are all these different treatment options. I really do not recommend you guys to mug up all this again and again. If you know the soft tissue procedures for less than 3 years and the bony procedures for more than 3 years, and this technique of posteromedial soft tissue release, that would be enough. But in case of a neglected CTEV of the child comes very late, most probably you have to go for a triple arthrodesis or an Ilizaro or just fixation. So all those detailed osteotomy technique, if you tell just osteotomy, what are the bony procedures you do, you tell I will do some calcaneal or the tarsal osteotomy, that should be fine. And in case of a neglected CTEV or a child comes very late, maybe after 10 years of age, you may have to go for an Ilizaro technique or Joshi's external stabilization system. So that's enough of the surgical techniques what you know. And postomedial soft tissue release is a bit important and has been asked as a separate short note. So I will just discuss postomedial soft tissue. Again, from the name itself, you release the postomedial structures, you release the posterior the capsule, the medial side ligaments, etc. So releasing the tight soft tissue structures, including the tendon, ligaments, capsule, or on the posterior medial side, that's all. So what all muscles there in the posterior aspect, Achilles is there, and the ligaments like the posterior capsules of the, again what we have discussed, the pathoanatomy. All those pathological structures you just release in PMSTR or the postomedial soft tissues. On the medial side, posterior side you have told, and the medial aspect you have all those muscles of the posterior compartment, and plantar aspect the flexor digitorum brevis and adductor hallucis. So just write these headings, these are the structures you release. And postomedial soft tissue release is a soft tissue procedure you do in case of a resistant, recurrent or a neglected CTEV if the child is less than 3 years of age, and that makes your short note complete on postomedial soft tissue release. And finally, how you maintain the correction. So I told you the principles of correction is the treatment is correction of deformity and its maintenance. So once you correct the deformity using the plasters or some surgical modalities, you have to maintain the correction, for which you use the CTEV splints. So the famous Dennis Brown splint, which is a favorite short note, favorite question by some of those examiners. So you must know this name, Dennis Brown or DB splint. And other CTEV splints also exist, and CTEV shoes also exist. And if you want to know in detail, because you have got a curved medial border, there is a varus deformity. In the shoes, you use a straight inner border. The medial border is straight to keep it straight after correction. And since it goes for inversion and kind of equines, you give an outer heel raise as well. And the heel, because to prevent the equinus contracture, there is no heel at all. If the heel, you give a heel, again the angle will go for the equinus, so there is no heel. So straight inner border, outer heel raise, and absence of heel makes the CTEV shoes ready for the maintenance of correction. So this is CTEV. It's very important, even an essay question. Probably they may give a clinical scenario like a child with deformity since birth. What is your differential diagnosis? What are the etiology for CTEV? What is the pathoanatomy and how do you treat? So in case of treatment being asked, in case of a clinical scenario, I told you, if the child's age is being given less than 3 years of age, you just do soft tissue procedures. Don't write less than 3, more than 3, because in the clinical scenario they have already mentioned an age. So no point in writing again less than 3, more than 3. Just write this child, because she is less than 3, we do a posterior soft tissue release in case the deformity occurs or if it is a resistant deformity. So congenital talipes equinus varus is a very important essay. You remember the mnemonic cave, CAVE, the cavus adduction varus and the equinus deformities, and all those postomedial structures which gets contracted and which has to be addressed in case of a soft tissue release. So thank you for listening to CTEV, and catch you with another topic later on.
Docemy.